social media, Raymond, who is disappointed the most?
I think it is the followers of the NDC. And this is not just limited to foot soldiers. It's not also limited to party officials at the grassroots, but people who sympathize and believe in the cause of the NDC too. The other group in the middle is also people who felt the NDC was a viable alternative to what's currently happening. In our current system, it appears people believe and insist that it's the NDC that can present to them the alternative that they need to have in the current circumstances that they find themselves. So it's like justify your inclusion, justify why we should give you the country to run going into the future. Every single conduct of the NDC. But let's track a certain history to this. Yes, the NDC succeeded in getting the speaker position to Alban Sumana Kingsford Bagbin. But the NDC lost something else which got people very disappointed. And it was also related to the appointment approval of ministers. You remember the list which included Hawa Kumsin. By the vetting and by the very resolve that the minority at the time, nobody would have expected them to vote for, and she came up not only
I think
flying
this was
big
also
time.
at the time that Okudzeto-Ablakwa also left the appointments committee.
Yes. And the argument at the time was that, well, I mean, yeah, we agree, but not everybody was in sync with the agreement that we should do this. And some people felt that at that time the resolve was not even stronger like it is this time around. And again, this was also a test for the new leadership. One of the arguments that have been held against the previous leadership was that sometimes they are not strong-willed enough to insist on pushing through some of these things. And this was at a time that the party itself had indicated that this is where we are going. And the minority had come out to say strongly that this is what we are going to do. Let's not forget the sequence of events. When it comes to CI, the party's followership applauded the minority for insisting that that the sole use of the national ID should not be the case. They were fully in support of it. And they were happy that the current leadership did something about it. The next step was making sure that the argument that has been made was pretty simple. The government is large. You can't access to do domestic debt exchange when you're not sacrificing. One of the ways to show you can sacrifice, and they say we will force them to downsize, which is we are not going to participate in that.
Right.
I mean, I don't think it's fortunate because we told what happened to the MP Philip Bassor was terrible. So he wasn't in Parliament. Adjoa Safotu was not in Parliament. So the current government has actually lost members, which made it almost the same number with the opposition in Parliament, which meant if they stuck to the position, they could have done something better. But what happened at the end of the day, after all the promises, after all the standoff, you get my point, delaying voting, deliberately calling everybody, insisting that no matter what happens, and all the possible negotiations did not yield the results, there was a certain thinking that for the entirety of those who are not in support of the actions of this government, there's a group representing it, be it in Parliament or outside Parliament. It is that group that feels disappointed more. They feel not just because these people could have voted based on their conscience. In any case, what's the conscience here? Are they opposed to the reduction in the numbers? Do they necessarily believe? And I mean, anybody who followed the vetting of the people who were vetted. There is a minister who's going to office who is telling people that he doesn't really understand what interest rates are, but he will be trade minister, a ministry that had set up a committee to investigate interest rates in times past. You get my point? So it's not as if we are putting in place the very best of our people, those with the magic wand to turn the fortunes of this country around. So your justification for voting them could really not mean that you wanted the best for this country. And I'm here to hear the argument in support of that. Because what? I mean, listen, see, the man who is leaving office as our Greek minister is a fine brain. Some of the best education you can get in that office. If he is leaving office, nobody can convince me that in the next less than 1 year to 2 years, and next year is an election year really, Ghana's fortunes in a Greek from the first step one we have done, first step two, metasip, all the things we have done in times past, if those things could not revolutionize the agric sector, I do not see anyone in the hands of what they call it, the incoming minister, to do so. So there will certainly be other reasons. Some have said they were compromised, others have said that they were bought, and all of that. And when you put all of them together, it presents a picture that you cannot trust this minority to do what it says it will do. How can we then trust them to present an alternative in government going into the future? It is coming from the thinking elsewhere that the opposition is a shadow cabinet. You know, the parliamentary system. They see opposition because they will form the next government, even though there are differences on the line there. So that's where the disappointment greatly is. But this one, I think, is deeper. Share the people are talking and the tone they are using. The former president, campaign managers, NDC people. In fact, today, it's almost like if you didn't submit evidence that you voted against these people, you are part of the traitors.